Learn Zohar, Michael-ben-Pesach, Portnaar. Baderech el Chasulam, on the way to the ladder. Part 1, Lesson 5. And the condition of katnut, small condition, is be called Shoshana, between the thorns, because 9 bottom sfirot of her have become empty of the light of Atzilut. We have seen the 9 sfirot of Atzilut are fallen in Bria. Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah are the worlds of separation. There is already a small separation of the light. The 9 Sefirot are as fallen in Bria, and that's why they are without the light of Atzilut. They are without the light of Atzilut, light Chokhmah. There are a total of 5 worlds, and every world has its own coordinated light within. The world Olam, Adam Kadmon, was the first world existed, and is under the light of Keter, the highest light. Light Keter means also light of Yehidah, unity. In the next world there was less light because there was more coarsening. Atzilut is in relation with the light Chaya, light Chokmah. That's why all the good comes from Atzilut, from the light Chokmah. And the 9 Sfirot of the Shoshana, which are as fallen in Bria, they are considered as to be without light, neither light of Atzilut or light of Chokmah, because Bria is in relation with the light Neshama. The light of Bria, this is the same, but one is to quality and the other is to Sfirah. Light Neshama gives nurturing light. It is enough, but it is not as the light of Atzilut. In the world Olam Yetzirah, there is a lower light, light Ruach, light Ze'ah. And in Olam Asiyah is the highest coarsening of the light, and therefore it receives the lowest light, light Nefesh. We have learned the principle of the cylinder already. Question of a course member. Is the level of the soul equal to the level of the light? Answer. Yes, you could say that. It is always related to what a Kli can receive, and Kli is soul. When a Kli has a certain level of development, level of correction, brought oneself in harmony with the higher, it receives the light Chokmah, light Haya. Then you could say that the level of the soul is of Haya, of Atzilut. When we speak about Kelim, then we always speak about Kelim they are capable of receiving the light. We never speak about Kelim that are not corrected. Zohar, and so does Ari, they always speak about the Kelim that are capable of to receive the light we are learning, and not before the correction. Of course, all steps of correction are discussed, but when a soul is egoistic, it is considered as not existing. In the Kabbalah, when something hasn't yet experienced light, it is completely egoistic. It is considered as not existing. Of course, it exists as a germ, only it is not experienced yet. During Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, the next prayer is pronounced. Write us in the book of life. This means, let in our kelim, in our soul, shine the light. Do not make any impression because there is no book. So, the 9 Sfirot fell in Olam Bria, and there is Or Neshama, or Binah, and that is a fraction of what Or Chokhmah of Atzilut is. We will explain later. We must not try to go further than the Zohar explains to us. And those stay behind in Bria as thorns. Thorns do not bloom, there is no life in it. Do not make an image. It has to take you to the feeling of the essence of what it is. They stay in Bria without light is as thorns. If we believe bad or irritated, we feel stitches or in our stomach as something's negative is stitching us. The same way with thorns. Zohar isn't symbolic or allegoric. And the condition of Gadlut, the large condition, is named Shoshana, common. Shoshana common without designation. Shoshana under the thorns is a small condition of Malchut. Only one Sphira has the light, and the bottom 9 are as fallen. When Shoshana can fill everything with light, she is in the condition of Gadlut, large condition. All of us will experience this in oneself. That is named Shoshana, lily, or Knesset Israel. I say Knesset because the last world ended with a vowel, and in Hebrew the next word is pronounced with Ch instead of K. Zohar gives another name for Shoshana in the condition of Gadlut, her large condition, Knesset Israel. And this is what he said. He is Ar Hiskiah, the author, Rabbi Hiskiah, the author of this pronouncement. There is a lily and there is a lily. There are two kinds of lilies. One lily in the situation of Katnut, small situation, and where she only experiences one emanation of the light, and the bottom 9 are considered as fallen in Bria. They have no light, and they are seen as under the thorns. And the other situation of this Shoshana is Gadlut, the large situation, coming from the word Gadol, large. This means that all 10 can experience the light. It is all about perception. The strengths we are learning yet are of the world Olam Atzilut. This is the operational system of the universe. Where are we? Atzilut is the operational system, and under Atzilut comes the world Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. In Bria, which is Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah, are the souls of tzaddikim, the righteous. These are very great souls that can stay there regularly. They draw from their light, and from Atzilut it flows to the other worlds. A very few special souls have their roots in Atzilut. Only once in a time of 10 generations they come into a physical body. And beyond these worlds, there is the experience of our world. All the remaining souls of human beings are in our world. The experience is although from different places. All souls are therefore in Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah, surplus our world as a continuation of the world Asiyah. The human being corresponds with the higher. That we are learning about Nukva of Shoshana are conditions we can experience. Ze'ah and Malchut. Ze'ah is the male principle, right, the right side, and Nukva is the female principle, the left. We will see that the aim of the operational system is to bring them together. In our world, too, we strive and experience this, in the course of which we will experience both the male and the female parts in ourselves. Either you are a man or a woman, this doesn't matter. In every situation, man has to learn to experience those two sides in oneself, and only this gives us the kiss of life, the life buoy, as it were. When a man only experiences right or left, he has a shortcoming. We will learn all this. I do not want to get under Zohar's feet. 6,000 years are given to let Ze'ah and Malchut come in complete merging and become large. Even the sun is larger than the moon. Zohar speaks with words of our world. The sun is Ze'ah and the moon is Nukva. The sun also will be in these 6,000 years larger than the moon. The intention is, we will see how this is done, that at the end of these 6,000 years, 6,000 corrections, how they come at the same level. It has to be in our purpose that we come in every situation to experience both male Ze'ah and female Nukwa in ourselves. See here the color red learns or teaches us there is the gripping of the outer. and of klipot, unclean forces. Klipa means shell. Klipot is plural and klipa is singular. Red means there is sucking from the outside forces of klipot. We call this unclean forces, but it is not a good conception. Their unclean forces sounds unclean, negative. While on the contrary, it isn't negative. It doesn't mean that everything is bad. Is the skin of an apple not good? Most of the time, we do not eat the skin, but it protects the fruit. We will learn everything in the creation is good, is functional. By the time we will learn, I do not want to go ahead. Zohar must give us the feeling. Only Zohar can lead us. To suck at. In Hebrew, suck has the same meaning as the baby sucks at the breast of the mother. What a magnificent language, to suck of the pure where the light is. And that is in the condition of katnut. In this time exists the sucking at something that is outside, that these bottom 9 sferot of her, of Shoshana, of Nukva, they are in Bria. And in her also the aspect of white. What means? In the Kli Keter of her. What does he tell us here? Suddenly he speaks about 2 colors. We can understand a lily has a white color. Now he says that the 9 bottom parts, Sfirot of the lily, Malchut Nukva, has the color red. Not that this is a color, it doesn't concern colors, only the qualitative content to give us something or some feeling. In the Seferah Keter, which remains an absolute, is the color white. We can draw the conclusion it is white because there is light. He tells us now that the bottom 9 sferot, that it is a matter of outside forces and klipot, skins, unclean forces. He connects this with the color red in the Seferah Keter. There is white. And again, he connects this with the color red. But in the Seferah Keter, there is white. There is no suckling of the outsiders in this Keter. So one Seferah, Keter, where is light, stays an absolute. In this Seferah sits the color white. There is no sucking of outside forces, of unclean forces. We will see what it is all about. One Seferah in white, and the bottom 9 Sferot are still in red. When a woman marries, she has a white wedding dress because it is a tradition. But in this tradition, she shows us, by her white dress, there is no place in me for others, outsiders, to suck. The color white shows that she is pure. There is no sucking, neither in thoughts. Our world is absolutely a reflection of the spiritual. And that is what is written. Just as Shoshana, that she is under the thorns, she has the colors red and white. So too Knesset Israel has in oneself severity and mercy. To reflect that also in her large condition, or lily, Shoshana Malchut, in the time she is called Knesset Israel, because she collects a collection, all the lights in herself. Therefore, it is a large condition. In spite that she has risen and hold the Binah. In a large condition, all 9 Sferot come from Bria up to Atzilut. In her large condition, just as mentioned above. Nevertheless, in her stays the aspect of severity, because she, the severity, din, is necessary for the secret of the screen, masach. So in her large condition exists din that is necessary for masach, screen. That at her is installed because of the collided merging. Collided merging, zivug de hakah. Through the colliding comes a merging. Be patient. Soon I will tell you because it is of vital importance. The whole Zohar will build this up, and a lot of new dimensions we will receive. Due to severity, which is in the screen, that strikes at the highlight, and let him return, and does descend with that 10 sferot of the reflected light. This is named the light of severity, din, and it is judgment too, and draws therein into the reflecting light. 10 sfirot of the direct light. Direct light is the light what is not tied to a kli. Soon I give an explanation. This is also named light of mercy. Yet we have seen three lights: light of severity, light of mercy, and reflecting light. Therefore, in Knesset Israel too, Nukva in her large situation, her condition, when she has 10 sfirot, has in oneself severity and mercy, opposite the red and the white in the lily under the thorns. Tremendous amount of information. We will try to decipher it. Last time we already have said something. We had said everything what Zohar tells us about our world. We should look where Zohar speaks about in guarded terms, about which place in the operational system of the universe. We return to red means there is a sucking of outside forces, and white means there is no sucking, there is light. We have seen in Shoshana is the color white too, and that is in the Keter. In Shoshana exists therefore two colors, white and red. Zohar itself makes a comparison of Knesset Israel, the large condition of Malchut, Shoshana. We also have said there is Shoshana, lily, under the thorns, the small condition of Malchut. And Shoshana without designation or under the thorns is the large condition. Now Zohar makes a connection with another definition, Knesset Israel. Opposite red, we have severity, because there is a shortcoming. Opposite the white of Keter, the first Sfirah of Shoshana, which is standing into the light, there is in Knesset Israel mercy too. Nothing is red or white. It is only brought up to give us some feeling. White is pure, and in red there is something in it. It is also the color of passion. There's nothing wrong with color red. There's only a kind of sucking from the outside forces. Malchut is the last station of the world absolute, and borders on the lower worlds, whereas no perfection is there anymore. Because it is a border station, there are unclean forces too, klipot from the lower worlds. It is the same with a man in our world. First he lives in a small street, maybe as a student. Of course it is not bad, but later, when he is graduated, he goes to live in another surrounding, to come closer to the white. In his perception, therefore, he goes living in a nicer surrounding. It is the same in the spiritual. Everything goes to perfection. In the last sentence of the first column, he tells us something special too. We should consider the aspect that he's going to tell us only in the small condition there is a shortcoming, an absorbing of the red forces. When there are 10, there is no place for the red, only for the white. He, however, goes to disappoint us. We would think that if there are 10, we are in Gadlut, and there is only white and fine. Why has this to be so difficult? Why must there be two strengths if I have already corrected myself for a certain wish? Here is an enormous secret. It is of vital importance. Slowly I will try to explain, inch by inch, a marvelous revelation of the divine light. He tells us in the second column at the top, in spite of the large condition in where Knesset Israel arrives there is severity, din. Later we will learn what it means to be in a large or small condition and how to come in these conditions. In the beginning, when there was no human being, the Creator has, as it were, already built the mechanism so that it works. Something can descend, etc. After man is on earth, nothing rises up on itself or descends in perception. Everything is dynamic, stable and static at the same time. Nothing moves. Only man moves from the inside. Only man can rise up Malchut, Shoshana, and Knesset Israel out of Bria. The 9 Sfirot of the Shoshana stay in a way downstairs in those 6,000 years of the creation. We have to let them go up, bring them to Absolute. They can't do that on their own. Only man can do this. So when we yield for man, pronounce a prayer, prayer is quite different than we think. It is from the inside you ask at the higher. We will all learn how it works. It is amazing what prayer is. Only man can from below raise a request. We shall learn to make movements from below to above. and from above to below. Not only to above. In a way, we ascend with our own Torah, just as Moses. We too shall pull those forces to below. To above and to below, and with this we enrich the higher worlds, how strange it may sound. Through a good life, to live according to the laws of the universe, we bring, as it were, perfection to the higher worlds. In this way, the Creator created it. We are partners with Him. And if we pronounce a prayer only when the Malchut pulls the Shoshana with her own 9 Sfirot up high, not necessarily altogether 9, it depends on your prayer. If my prayer is worth 1 Sfirah, only 1 Sfirah will descend from red to white. And when my prayer becomes more sincere, powerful, it will be more. We have to know nothing goes up if we don't make an effort here below and have the real desire. Not a childish nagging as give me this and give me that, but that what we ask bring to above with an altruistic attitude. In this way we come in harmony with the universe. We arouse, as it were, something at Malchut. It is from above that we arouse to do something for us. Nothing comes from above if it is here below not aroused. When a baby sleeps in the cradle, father and mother sleep too. It would be perfect if he sleeps the whole night. It is easier. When the baby wakes up and cries, the crying of a baby is horrible, and it is a demanding cry. Mother wakes up and she wakes up the father. It is the same in the spiritual. Ima, the mother, asks at the father, and the father stands up and goes to the kitchen to make something hot. And she gives directly and baby food. But the father has to do all kinds of things. He can't give directly to the child. Yet we're speaking over the control system itself for the time being without the human being, but man is absolutely involved. He says, Knesset Israel, the Malchut, where all of us from receive, and who helps us with all our fulfillments in our life, brings us light Chokhmah, the light of life. She is in a border region and can bring it to us. She consists of 2 strengths, severity, din, and mercy, rachamim. Considering the fact that she has received the condition of Gadlut, the large condition, now he is going to explain why. We should aspect that we have arrived in the nirvana just as people do in our world, and then finished. We should not expect that, but it isn't. Even as we experience 10 Sfirot, always those 2 strengths, severity, din, and mercy, rachamim, are as it were integrated. We do not go to fly like angels. He says din is necessary. We would say, give us only the good things. Why severity? We are learning how this is in the universe, and it is unshakable what we are learning. It is forever. They are the laws of the universe. We have nothing to do with religion. Absolutely not. Remember this. It is not religion. For us, religion means that we have trust in the laws of the universe. Faith, because we do not experience them yet. When we experience, there is no need for faith. Only when we go further to the next step, we need faith because we haven't yet the strength to experience. Faith is necessarily for to penetrate the next step, to observe. If we have reached the next step, our eyes are open for the concerning that step. The step is in us, too, and there is an agreement with the step in Atzilut. Every time you learn Zohar, or you think at Zohar, you must say to yourself, this book concerns me. This book speaks about everyone who is willing to learn, and it doesn't concern peoples or for those who have a religion. Even when someone hasn't a religion, Zohar speaks concerning him too. He gives this person the ability to come in harmony with the laws of the universe. This is for everyone. He says that severity, din, gradually we will use more and more Hebrew words because the strength in the world is valuable too. So din is needed to build up the screen which is Masach. He is telling us that there are in the large conditions 2 strengths, din and rachamim, severity and mercy. Why do we need severity? He tells us because of the Masach, the screen, anti-egoistic force, limitation. Without limits, we can't comprehend anything. In every situation, we need not only mercy, but also a sort of restriction. For example, you're walking and you see someone in a terrible situation, buy drugs or whatever. He has an uncared for look, he smells badly, and you feel in yourself a rising up mercy. You give him a lot of money or whatever. In religion, this is very great. You have just received your salary and there's no restriction in your feeling of mercy, rachamim, and you give him half or even more of your salary. Marvelous deed. Without din, this can't be a deed of cowardness, a deed that is not in agreement with the laws of the universe. It won't be of any help. Why? Because one opposed the other must be weighed. Suppose you give him 500 euro and say, get up, find yourself a nice meal, a drink, or go to the social security or look for a job. In your eyes, you do a good deed, but in relation to him, this is an act of adultery. He accepts your money, and directly he goes to a dealer or buys some drinks or whatever, and it will not work out well for him. Everything must be done with moderation to the degree of the strengths. In the large condition, you must have always these two strengths. Hasulam says we need din, severity because of the masach, the screen. What is a screen in our world? Everything what has to be shielded, what makes a border, is a screen. Why we need this border? We shall see. First, a little pause where you can eat and drink without masach. Severity, din, is needed to build masach. The commentary, extension on Zohar, tells us we need din for the secret of masach, which is installed at Malchut for the sake of the collided merging, zivug, the hakah. I will explain a little what is meant with this. Not everyone has followed the previous course, and this is a course at a different level. Zivug means in modern Hebrew copulation. Therefore, for an Israelite, it is more difficult. Zohar uses terms such as breasts, legs, huggings, etc., things we associate with physical actions. Try to learn only zivug, the hakah. Zivug is contact. To have contact with each other means unity. One reaches the level of the other. As a result of the inner work, one element descends the staircase to another staircase. How can we descend? I will try to explain how we receive the strength from the descending. He tells us that for the sake of din, which is the masach, it strikes at the highlight and let him return. It is very important to know how this mechanism works, because everything works in this way. Each receiving of the light, every comprehension goes in this way. See drawing 5 made during these lessons. We have said there are always two participants, light and kli. Light shines, as it were, through the kli. Light has no limits. In a church or synagogue, there shines the same light from above, but we do not take notice of it. To remark the light, to observe the light, an interaction has to be involved. A kli has to see the light, even for a small part. This is the mechanism between light and kli. Of course, the light has no limits. Wherever you are, light is not bound to a place or a time. It is bound to nothing. Light is eternal. Experiencing the light has everything to do with our capability of observation. It all depends on our degree of correction, of a kli, to experience the light. Light has to be experienced. How? I explain it to you as follows. Zohar tells us even in a large situation, two strengths remain in the kli. In a kli there's din, severity, and rachamim, mercy. We need the strength of din for to make a limit, up to here and no further. A sphira at the right side is always higher than at the left. For example, chesed is at the right, and guvara, or din, what's in the principle is the same, later we will learn the tricks, is left, the left side. The light comes from hesed to guvara, to din. The difficulty with drawings is that we try to remember them. It is drawn in such a way that it seems chesed is at the right and guvara at the left, but light falls straight down. We have written hesed as rachamim. Zohar says, but meant is light hasidim, because rachamim is the middle usually. Please refer to the written materials for drawing number 5 And we continue with the lesson. When the light ascends, it can't stop at Hesed, Hasidim, mercy, because there is no limit at mercy. Only mercy without severity, din, leads to an immature act. Hesed makes no borders. To give without limit is actually not giving. Do you understand this? When someone gives right out of his heart, it is in the rule and act of adultery. On the one hand, it is good to give. How can giving be bad? A real giving is when there are two strengths. When there are those two strengths, on the one hand, dedication, and on the other hand, a hidden severity. This is to give according to the laws of the universe, and not according to the intuition of the human heart and or their ideas. Light always ascends to the Masach, the screen, and the Masach is always at Malchut. Malchut, therefore, is the one who has the strength to feel din. If there is Masach in Gura, we mean that Malchut is descended to Gura. The whole purpose is that Malchut descends to Keter. Din always exists in a kind of a blending, other than black because it is mixed with light. However, it exists always because there is a kind of Malchut always, which is black. There enters absolutely no light. For everyone, and even for us who are trying to climb the spiritual ladder, din exists always. Of course, it becomes easier. It will not give us the feeling of din, but it is always hidden one way or another. It is necessary for us that the din is present, otherwise we couldn't see the light. Zohar tells us din is strength of Malchut and is needed for the collided merging, zivug dehakah. The top 9 sferot are qualities of the light. Because of this, the light can come through to Malchut, even to us. We have good qualities too. We can be nice because our top 9 sferot have the quality of the light also. And that's why we can come in harmony, bring ourselves in agreement with the light. Of course, it is not a correction, but it gives us the chance to be good with each other at the outside. Not the 10th sphera. It is not possible to show the 10th sphera, and this is good because there is all misery. For this reason, you should not talk about your spiritual work, because if you are busy with the spiritual, you have to deal with Malchut, with your dark side. And do not talk about this with no one, only with light. For to give your dark black, Malchut, another light gradation, for to merge it with the strength of Chasidim or Rachamim, to melt with your competitor, to learn your Malchut, your black spot to adept as much as possible to the light. How does it go further? Light tries to penetrate in the Malchut because the Malchut, the Kli, the creation, has made a limit so that we do not receive egoistic. The law is made so that when we receive egoistic, we can't experience absolutely anything. It is the same in our world. There is a song, I can't get no satisfaction. And the singer of the song has achieved everything in his life what he wanted. Why? Because the laws of the universe are made in such a way that there is, was, and will be no satisfaction if we do not adapt to the laws of the universe. If we do not adapt to the laws of the universe, only misery will be there for us. And you go from one misery to the other. Direct light, or yashar, is light, what is not yet enclosed by a kli. Zohar tells us that we are created just as the light to come directly downstairs. Adam Kadmon had no excuses. If you do well, the light comes from Keter, Chokmah, Binah, and this way directly downstairs. And if you do not do good, it stops. Then there is misery. The human being couldn't exist in this way, and therefore the world was organized in such a way for us, and it was done in another way. As Adam Kadmon, so that we too have two strengths. Mercy is wonderful, but it is an immature condition. When man comes to full maturity, he is unfamiliar with right and left. It becomes one light, directly up high. then man feels no pain. Or Yashar always comes to Malchut. Malchut is the only place in the world, as here with us, where there is a consideration if we accept or refuse it. In this way, Malchut does the same with us. 3 drinks and no more. I give her a kiss and no more. To limit is very important. It is not wise to invite everyone to let him in. You have to limit it. Firstly, Malchut reflects the direct light. It is the same here with us. Do we take a cup of coffee or not? Do I make the phone call or not? Everything that we do is according to the same law. What has the light of Or Yashar to do with a drink of a cup of coffee? You can see coffee as the direct light. Coffee is a stimulant. Spiritual or physical pleasure is only a difference in gradation of light. All nurturing devices are given to us as to confront us. If you buy bread at the bakery, you do not eat the whole bread at once. You eat it slice by slice. You put it in your mouth only what you can eat, then you chew. The whole process is for to take it in. It is exactly the same in the spiritual. The first reaction from below, from the Kli, is always no. Every satisfaction, pleasure, you have to reject first. It is always this way, unchangeable. Till the arrival of the Messiah, the Mashiach, it will be in this way. It has never been different. So first there is rejection, then calculation, because we aren't corrected. The more you have learned Kabbalah, the more you are corrected. You will feel that you have to think less, make less consideration. We think because we haven't enough strength. There has to come a situation that we don't have to think. It must become a spontaneous observation. The light comes to you, and directly rejection and calculation. Calculating how much light you can receive just as the slice of bread. When you have no strength for receiving the light, you can't see it. Therefore, it is of vital importance to have in every situation rachamim or chasadim. Do not become angry or furious. That is horrible. Everything you have built up will be pulled down through this behavior. It is written, if you comply with the regulations written in the Torah, such as thou shalt not kill, etc., but you get angry even about small things, it is much worse than breaking the rules of the Torah. This is written. Can you imagine? Even the regulation that thou shalt not kill. For everything what a human being does and is forbidden by the Torah, there is a correction. There is a possibility for repentance. Repentance is not something thought about by a church or synagogue. It is established by the Creator or by the creation itself. Through repentance, you can come to a clear conscience, when it is sincere repentance. But when you become angry, it will not be forgiven. Everything you had built up falls apart. You throw it, as it were, in the dustbin. The Kli is broken then, and no reparation is possible. You have to start again, start all over with your spiritual work. This is no joke. Be aware of this. This is no joke. Be careful. Be careful and pay attention. Do not be angry, not for even one tiny moment. It is not only about the utterance of your anger. When you feel anger, it comes up in you. Must try to smother it right away, so there will be no reaction. It is not in our power to not become angry, but we can nip it in the bud. For not to wait till it has come so far that it has reached your feeling, and then you become angry on who or whom. It is not religion. Religions say the same, but in Kabbalah you learn the why. It comes namely from the laws of the universe. Anger, fury is more harmful than adultery or whatever, although it looks in our eyes not so important. You become angry or furious and then you feel relaxed. Relaxed means there is no spiritual movement. You must not want to be relaxed. People love it to be relaxed because at that moment you don't feel pain. Just as the cat that's lying next to me snoring. It doesn't hurt. It is good to go about with people who are relaxed. Of course, you must strive to feel peace in yourself, but not at the expense of everything so that you feel relaxed. Before we calculate, we have to reject. After the calculation, you look wherefore you have the strength to receive altruistically. not receiving for yourself. Of course, there must be pleasure, but in such a way that you give pleasure at the Creator, at the laws of the universe. This means that you bring yourself in harmony with the laws of the universe, and that is altruistic receiving, receiving in the good way. Kabbalah will teach us that everything is allowed because in you is built up a system. You don't have to think anymore. You don't have to make calculation because in you there is an anti-egoistic system by which you let not through what is not good for you. Of course, droplets will come in. They are not yet corrected, and this is good because then you have some work to do. Receiving altruistic means reflected light, or hoser. At the drawing, it is in the blue. There, blue has the feature of rejecting. It is without an arrow because it is an ordinary rejection. It doesn't rise up to a particular height. Reflecting can be anything, even a sentence in the Zohar. Suppose I read Zohar. The text is the direct light, or Yashar. When you start, you must reflect immediately. If you don't do this, it becomes ordinary reading. The reflection must be there right away, and then you start to look what you experience. First the rejection. Therefore, it is called collided merging. First the rejecting, and then the reflecting. This means already a reaction at what I can take in from Zohar, or from a piece of meat I want to eat, or another kind of pleasure. Everything in our world is pleasure. The Creator has created so that we only can receive. He wants to give us pleasure, anything that we want, but we can't or do not want it sometimes. The reflecting light is named Or Hoser or Din, light of severity. Severity there it comes from my inner and not from the light. Light is perfect, and from my reaction, from the fire in me, there comes as it were a sort of light of my resistance, to not receive the light in all its richness, light of severity, my limitation, and therefore it is called Or Din, light of severity. The light of severity is thicker, of course. It is not as fine as the coming direct light. The coming light is finer always, more delicate, of a higher frequency than the reflecting light. Therefore, Zohar says to us in Or Din is the color red, and in Or Yashar is white. It is good to see it in this way. The next phase, he is telling us, is that the Masach reject the coming light without an understanding of what the pleasure is. For example, do you like coffee? No. Do you want to eat? No. Always first the rejection, then the tasting. That is Or Hoser, or Din. The reflecting is named Or Hoser, and or the Din at quality, light of severity. Or Hoser is direction. It always descends. Or Din, light of severity at quality, because it is light of limitation. I go, for example, to a party, and in each eye I see 10 women, but I can't even handle my own wife. The wish is there, but do I have the strength? Man has to calculate always. I want this. Do I have the strength? I want to have a Rolls Royce. Do I have the strength to buy it? The wish has to be kosher, always. You have to learn which wish is kosher for you. Don't look at other things. If it is not for you, then it must be no problem too. Or Hoser, light, what is thicker than the direct light, went on by forming a sort of canal. Everything what is thicker can take in anything what is lighter. The direct light, Or Yashar, comes into the canal and partly merges with Or Hoser and enters the Kli. In the canal it sits there for red, not quite red because it is already merged when arriving at the Kli. The Kli is not corrected completely, so when pleasure enters, it is experienced in several ways. One person says, I like coffee, and another dislikes it. In this way, there are several corrections. The Zohar tells us that within sits the direct light, and the Kli surrounds, which is the reflecting light. Kli is nothing else than Or Hoser. It takes in the direct light and draws it inside. That is Kli, and no more. Kli, therefore, is that what you reflect. What you reflect is light too, only thicker light. And in this, you take in the light you can handle at that moment. Via your mouth, it enters in you. The place where the light comes in is always named peh, mouth. In the spiritual, everything enters just as at the human being, via the mouth. We will feel and not get lost in whatever exists in our world. We will see unity, wholeness in everything. Say this week, at anything you do, Gam ze tov, this is good, even if you have no strength to see it in truth. It is good to say Gam ze tov, not for today, but for tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. Through this, you can reflect the light and will receive unity and shalom. Shalom until the next lesson.